We live. We live. We live. We live. We are live. And it is episode 77 of the Lyrical Ones podcast. It is Wednesday, December 1st in the year 2021. Um, Affluent, how are you doing on this December 1st?
I'm doing well. You know, I can start like this because it's it's very important that we acknowledge how culture is harming Black people. Right? It's the nutrition culture. It's the police state culture. Um, it's the tribalism culture. It's the grind, rise and grind culture is harming people of color. Um, and it's on my heart because I think about the loss of Virgil Abloh and at 41 years old passing away from cancer. And then I think about Chadwick Boseman passing away from cancer. Um, and I say these are real artistic dudes with right any amount of dietary nutritional advice at their fingertips. And something about their habits, right, made this inescapable for them. And that's kind of wild, right? It's like say, okay, from a hereditary standpoint, right, that can make sense. Then also from a lifestyle standpoint, okay, that can make sense. And say, okay, well, they could survive COVID, but they like couldn't find a way out of cancer. And it's like, okay, understandable. A lot of people pass away from cancer, right? Like Stu Scott said, you don't lose from cancer um, when you die. You lose from cancer when you give up, when you don't live your life, when you operate in fear, when you don't live loving your life. Um, right? That's how you beat it is by living the life you love and living in every moment. And their families they chose to you know keep things on the under as much as they could, and the families don't owe the public anything. And then as folks with celebrity, you know their audience, their fans, their supporters would like to be in the know because then it comes as something that is traumatic and sudden. But again, the families don't owe us anything. And so I think, oh man, how could this be prevented? How could this tragedy, right? Where is the inequity that exists that leads to this tragedy? Because you say it starts as youth, right? Growing up in middle America, you say it is something that comes from you know home practices, cultural foods. We know that to some degree, right, Chadwick Boseman is exercising and doing what he can to prepare for roles. So he may not necessarily be in the worst shape possible, um, health wise. But really, whether it's a rare form of cancer or a common form of cancer, I think people really got to switch things up. And at the same time, we have to normalize talking about those practices that can feed into um, the cancer surviving and thriving within somebody's body. Um, and then as long as we talk about cancer, we got this trial going on with Epstein's right hand person, and you know, hopefully, because the victim was of the fair skinned variety, justice should probably play out as it's supposed to. Um, in terms of minimal punishments and slaps on the wrist because money's involved and things like that. Um, but yeah, it's a great day. It's the first day of December, and Lyrical Ones, we're here. Is this episode 77?
77.
Oh, it's a
77.
great day. Let's run it, Cindy. How you feeling?
Yeah, that was a lot of information at one time.
That was my 4 minute Saturday Night Live monologue
But
with no jokes.
no jokes. And yeah, for let me do this now. Sometimes people laugh as a nervous reaction. It's like a defense mechanism. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
almost like self-soothing in an awkward situation or a level of discomfort. It's not meant to be disrespectful. It's not meant to be harmful. And oftentimes people be like, "What's so funny? Why you laughing?" Right?
Tell them about how black people be laughing, man. Tell them just go ahead. Tell them how we live.
Listen. I was just talking to somebody. I was talking to a colleague today. We was talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma. We was talking about Juneteenth. We were talking about deindustrialization. We were talking about the Black Panthers. We were talking about what it meant to be a black person thriving in America at different points of time.
And you laughing the whole
And
time.
right, so you thrive, and then what happens? Some inexplicable adverse situation or circumstances that come and just try to wipe you out. And so you, as my mother has often said, right, you can choose how you respond to pain. Some people choose to laugh.
Is that
Some
what your
people,
mother say?
yeah, she would like in my family, as I've often discussed, we experience a lot of loss of life, right?
Same,
And she
same,
would always
same.
talk about how in New Orleans, they would celebrate, right, by having they had a line, right? You had the line, the march, right? You would celebrate, right? And the thing about it was she would always reference all these different ways of people, celebrating or processing loss and grief. And she was like, you don't have to make it this thing, right? So you can choose to laugh. You could choose to find a way to make it light. And it's a thing where I feel like that resonates, for a lot of people, and especially black people as well, where laughter and laughing, right? When we look at our comedians, and a lot of them are talking about trauma, talking about pain, talking about adversity, and how we use laughter as a way to not just humble ourselves and create humility and to keep us grounded, but to also persevere and push forward. And so it's important that you one understand that, because like you just hit so many different notes, right? Talking about Virgil Abloh being 41, right? Chadwick Boseman being 43, right? These people who we perceive as pillars of culture, as beacons of light to illuminate. Like, it meant so much to me to see Black Panther, right, in my lifetime, to see a full black cast that is a superhero that has the support and backing of just so many people, right? To have that, sense of appreciation, dignity, pride. Like I remember going to see Batman. I remember going to see Spider Man, and I'll never forget going to see Black Panther. I'll never forget what that
Woo!
felt like. Right?
Boy, oh boy, I saw it in the theater 7 times. I was like, who want to go see it? I'll go with
Who
you.
won? Exactly. I went. I think I went like about 4 or 5 times because I was like, "We gonna do this again."
Who
Right?
got a screen?
We're
Who got a screen? Who going deep? I'm gonna go with you. I was
going.
trying to take everybody, go with everybody, tag along as often as I could.
And so to see these men, like you just mentioned, right? These individuals, these pillars of culture and community, right? Virgil Abloh has been at the forefront of what people have been wearing, right? He worked with Kanye, right? So he transitioned into being his his own entity, right? That didn't need any collaborator or co-signer to justify his existence or to help support promote who he is. Yet 41 years old, he gone, right? As he was embarking on a lifelong journey that others will be able to and grow and encapsulate on, right? Here this man is being taken away. And it's all too familiar to me because I've lost a lot of people to various health issues, especially cancer.
Right.
And so to see, right, that you say that to then go into Jeffrey Epstein's right hand person, Maxine Giswell, whatever her name is,
Islane,
and Islane, whatever the hell her name.
Izzle, Tizzle,
So
Vizzle is it double Dutch?
Z. So the thing is, right? You had mentioned, right, that, and I've said this many times, they will kill their own to get you, right? They will take out whoever they need to take out just to hit you. And so you brought up these women being of the fair kind that, yes, in most instances, justice may just level out because that's what history dictates, right? Times do change. In this certain situation, given the amount of individuals' names that are associated, involved with the situation, I'm like, so many people love playing Call of Duty. So many people religiously will go and play Call of Duty, right? Activision is the company that produces the game, right? They publish it, right? They're the ones responsible for fronting the money to the developers to create the game so they can go and sell it so they can reap the benefits. The CEO, his name is Bobby Kotick, right? And he's in hot water right now because the state of California is investigating Activision. All you people that love or heard of Call of Duty, right? The
I
company is
don't
being
play it.
investigated right now, right? I don't play it. So the thing is, right now, they're being investigated. Guess who was in Little Black Book of Jeffrey Epstein on the plane?
I don't know. Who could it be?
Bobby Kotick. Bobby
Whoa.
Kotick, the CEO of Activision, his name is in that book. And now his company is being investigated and scrutinized for what a lot of people see as,
Did he
sexual
take a company
discrimination.
plane? Did he
Oh,
take a
this
company?
ain't this ain't a company plane. This is Jeffrey Epstein's plane. This is I don't even want to take the jokes that I got going right now, but
Let's
just
let's go. Let's move on.
insert any number of them, right? So when you say all that, and I'm like sitting here and I'm like processing and I'm thinking, because again, how I'm doing, I am thankful. I'm appreciative. Um, I just re-released a project with a collaborator, T Venom. Shout out to T Venom.
Ooh,
You know,
symbiosis.
yep, symbiosis is out, right? It is it's so important that people understand that this is all about lyricism. This is all about really hard hitting hip hop boom bap beats, right? This is, I serve all the spectrums as much as I can when it comes to music, especially hip hop and rap. I appreciate it. I have a love for it. And so I'll dive into these different pieces in these different sectors. And Symbiosis is definitely a work that is 5 tracks that I just go off, whether it's conceptual, whether it's just in the pure essence of lyricism and showing the ability of usage of words and how they can be morphed and manipulated. This project is that, right? So that just got released on Tuesday. We picked Tuesday because that used to be the day when all the new stuff came out, right? Like Tuesday was the day. Like you go, you if you was lucky enough and you had a little bit change, right? You wanted to get something new, Tuesday was your day to go to the store, right? Sam Goody, Tower Records, Virgin Megastore, Best Buy, CompUSA, whatever. If it was a video game, a movie, a CD, Tuesday was the day it came out. And that's what we did. We just released it on Tuesday. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's a callback and a homage to a lot of things that I appreciate. You know, we got tracks referencing Godzilla. We got tracks referencing just the uh, existential journey that one goes on to understand who they are in life. I mean, there's so much for so many, and yeah, this project is out. So I'm doing great. I'm happy that it's out. I'm happy people can listen to it. A lot of people have the end of the year Spotify wrap ups. I'm looking at mine, surprised. They're like, "Oh man, people listen to me." That's what's up. Like, this is the start. This is the journey, and I'm embarking and excited to see where it goes. And so, yeah, man, that's what's going on right now as we start off episode 77 of the Lyrical Ones podcast.
Yes, yes, yes. It's interesting, time, because in some ways, right, the season of winter has some characteristics that the planet goes through, right? Because of the axis that it's on, right? Certain parts of the surface, the Earth's surface, are getting more sun, and certain parts of the surface are getting less sun, right? So there are longer days for some people and shorter daylight times for others. And, depending on which hemisphere you're on, right, life is looking different. And then there are cultural things that characterize the season, as well as school, school age people, students navigate their breaks based on the holidays of Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and New Year's. These, like, this is what they call the holiday season. And while a lot of people like bring attention to like doing things for others, gifting to others, thinking about those who are less fortunate than them, um, I think it's important that we we also acknowledge that we can gift to people at any time. Um, they're always We can always find someone less fortunate than us, but also acknowledging our own bandwidth and saying, like, maybe what I need to do is find out if I've been giving away too much already, and where that balance needs to land, where maybe I'm not giving a lot to individuals or people who are less fortunate than me. Maybe I am, but maybe I'm giving too much time to work, or accommodating others, or appeasing or pleasing people. And the gift that I can give to myself is a little bit of self awareness, um, and grace and delicacy to say, I can take better care of myself this time so that I can show up in a more peaceful, less volatile way, um, as things may become intense and tough for people around the holidays. There's pressure to spend time with family or friends or loved ones. There's uh, there's the expectation that there's someone around to spend time with. There's an assumption that there, that people have families to spend time with, and then we have a lot of people who are unhoused, navigating, harsher conditions, extreme cold and malnourishment. And right, we can help those people year round, and we can actually be in the process of, setting aside something, to help people year round. And I'm just at a place where I want to I want to dive into, how I can free up some time and man hours to continue to give, within my bandwidth, so that I'm not stretched too thin or overwhelmed, you know, by the amount of things that I want to get done for myself, for my loved ones, and for uh, my community. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. I mean, it's a thing where it's very easy to get wrapped up in the cycle of what's in front of you. Um, Referencing the conversation I just had before we got on here, around a lot of us are raised to be a service to others, and we don't realize it, we don't acknowledge it, we don't often think critically about it. That we're put in a position not because we're aware, but because of practice. Our parents frame our minds around how do we adapt to the world, or how do we play into certain aspects of what the society says this is what it is, right? And it's all these, it's a convergence right now as I
Yeah.
say this. I had a friend who I've mentioned before on this, who their mother got questioned by their friend and said, "Don't you hate it when your child talks back?" And the mother said, "No, because I ain't raising no weak children. I want my children to be, I may not like it. It may annoy me. It may drive me nuts, but I want them to be opinionated. I want them to be vocal, and I want them to think critically about what's being told to them or asked of them, because everything ain't worth their time, even if it's from me." And I was like, man, snap fingers, claps, emojis, praise hands. But
Mm,
it was such a refreshing perspective. Even if I don't agree with it, I appreciate it. And sitting here talking to another friend about, how easy it is when you at a job or you in a situation to do certain things that are required of you without question. But then when it comes time to turning that on yourself and doing it for you, it feels difficult, right? You
right.
become so accustomed that you will guilt yourself into what is what, right? Like, think of how twisted the concept is to say that your hour has a monetary value.
Yeah.
Like, your time is the most limited thing that you got, because there ain't no guarantee to tomorrow. But the job's gonna tell you what your time is worth. When to me, my time ain't worth what they pay me. It's not, right. Like, it's maybe not right for everybody. Some people, I mean, they may feel differently. If you Bobby Kotick, you might, he getting paid millions, you getting a bonus. If you the CEO of Walgreens, right, where you could shut down some stores and still have profits, even though there's wage loss for your employees. Think about
Nah,
that.
nah.
They
My
gonna
t- my
report
time's
two hundred
my
and
time
fifty
still my time
times.
still my time still don't have a price on it.
Ooh, okay. Well, there you go. Right. For me as well, my time does not have a price on it. And when you think about what you want to do with your time, right? Homelessness, people who are starving, people living in poverty. I'm of the mind that wealth is a human right. Wealth. What wealth means to me is having access to what you need, right? Having the ability to access. Not everyone has the accessibility to what they need. And that means that people are lacking wealth, a wealth of resources, education, information, opportunities, whatever the case may be. They lack it. Resources, you go down the list of what that means. There's a lack for a lot of people. If you can't pay for your phone bill or your light bill, if you need those things, especially at this time where I'm looking at the school I work at, and I look at the neighboring community of who's at service to the community, and I'm seeing that there ain't a lot of people there, which means that they probably at home. So they are engaged in a different way, or they're not engaged or disengaged because they have a lack.
Right.
And so then it becomes a thing. Well, how do I cut my time up to be able to tend to the things that matter or have importance to me, right? And I do think that there's a level of mindfulness and criticalness of what is it that we are asking of ourselves, because certain patterns exist and we sometimes don't want to participate in the pattern. I'm saying that when it comes to wealth. I'm saying that when it comes to the things I've heard repeated over and over again, and how easy it is to change your perception if you just have a conversation with someone else, right? And
Right.
that is in relation to my time. And what I'm saying is, if I put forth the amount of energy to invest in my time to make it valuable beyond a monetary hourly scheme, right? Because that's what it is, an hourly scheme, right? I can then take ownership back of my time, right? You're gonna you're gonna have so many people listen to this and are either frustrated because they don't have an adequate means to financial like support, right? Oh, I got a job that I gotta wake up for. I gotta go to sleep because I gotta wake up. Or maybe I can't go to sleep because I'm thinking about my job, but I still gotta be ready for it when the time comes. I'm about to go to work upset and angry because this isn't
Woo.
necessarily what I want to do. It ain't my calling,
Talk about
but
it.
I'm gonna now use this as a tool to have them in the headspace of, I wish they would. I wish you would. I wish you would say something about me coming late. So then I can unload all the stress, the pain, the trauma, and the baggage that I'm holding on to as I come into this job every day to perform the task that you want me to perform, right? That I wasn't given the same access or belief system or supports or information so I could get outside of it, because that's really what it is. You get so wrapped up, you don't even think critically that where'd you get the information from? Where did you get the words from? Who gave you this? Because a lot of your patterns, a lot of what's happening, some degree is passed on, or it's intervention, right? Something intervenes in your life, right? Where it's like, oh, this resonates with me on a different level. I believe I can. I could change my time. I could change my life. I could change what I'm doing. I see something and I'm going to go after it. I believe in it. Somebody must have believed in me. Or maybe I seen somebody believe in themselves enough to it impacts me to want to do it myself. But that's the thing, is that we will often ignore that. We'll ignore that it exists. We'll try and justify, oh, that's for them. That ain't for me. And then we'll minimize it and validate it, because instead of leveraging that person's experience to magnify me or amplify me, I try to separate me from them, even though we breathe in the same air, even though we walk amongst the same, right? We're in the same clouds, the same stars, the same space. And so, yeah, it's difficult when, or maybe it ain't difficult, but for some, it's difficult to decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to dedicate this time to someone who needs it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go and feed this person. I'm going to make this sandwich. I'm going to make it for me and I'm going to make it for somebody I don't know. Right. And I'm going to go find them and I'm going to give it to them.
That's one of my favorite things of like happenstance is I may not have a person on my mind or heart, but sometimes I will purchase like extra food or like two meals or two entrees or two breakfast burritos. And part of it is right, like I'm like running hot with calories, right? So like that's fine. Um, but then also there's not necessarily a need on my end, but the having the access that I have, I get to share that access and that provision when I see I'll acknowledge the need. Um, because I don't necessarily I'm not in a space where I can provide job opportunities like a Nipsey Hustle. Um, and like I always appreciated, that aspect of his intentionality that he would, hire folks who are struggling to find jobs because of, their legal history. And though I can't offer that, you know, them having, one extra meal might encourage them to, again, use that freedom, and build momentum towards something that is empowering to them, right? Like a meal won't empower somebody, but it can assist someone on their journey to empowerment, right? Like a conversation won't empower somebody, right? I'm not empowering anyone, right? They're empowering themselves, but conversation, some acknowledgement, some eye contact, a smile, a short exchange or conversation, even something that's non-transactional, that's relatable, can assist on someone's journey to empowerment. And when people are navigating things like a savior complex or imposter syndrome, right? Like they're not saving anyone, and no one is saving them or empowering them. They are on a journey of finding their own power, finding their own authenticity, of finding finding ways to show up without looking for someone to validate, who they are and the way that they navigate or their experiences or their scope that shapes their experiences. Say the way you see things because of your lived experience is just fine and valid for this place of people who are different from you. And in some of the communities that we serve, you know, the scope that the scope that is missing or the scope that is voiceless is often representative of some of these communities that are being served.
I mean, I just want to acknowledge some of the comments we've gotten. Cuddy Larag is like, hey, we got VDH Media Bay Area giving us the muscles as, we get our workout on, you know what I'm saying? Rock Never Stops came through and said, what's up?
I forgot
So,
about the video.
we out here, we working hard, you know what I'm saying? Press, it's all about maintaining your form. But, I just want to acknowledge those people that are with us, and also
We appreciate y'all.
yeah, we appreciate everybody. And I'm gonna be more mindful of checking the comments because I realized that's a thing that I could do. I was like, oh, let me click on this. So as we, further dived in deep, this is a thing where and this is in contrast to everything we started this conversation on.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, because this is such a weird thing, but I want to acknowledge it. I posted a lyric from Benny Butcher, right?
Nice. From
And
He's got
and
some good lyrics.
it's from his album that he did with Hit Boy, right? I think
Okay.
it's called The Burden of Proof. And this line I one appreciate and love, but it was repeated in a different variation from a YouTuber. I believe her name is Sorel Amore, and she does videos on finances. And I've shared it, right? I've shared it with people. People have either resonated with it in different ways, or we've had conversations about it. And what Sorel had said was, money doesn't change you; it only amplifies who you are, right? And the Benny the Butcher quote was one that, because to me, the magic of it is how it's resonated with so many people. Because I've never seen this much energy around anything I've ever put out in the
Oh
world.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But I'm like, I'm just highlighting something that means something to me, and it means so much to so many others that it's like liked, retweeted multiple times over. And it's like, money don't make you solid. It just makes you 10 times more of the person you are before you got it. Right. They both say the same thing in different ways. It's delivered and
Right.
resonates with people differently. And it's so wrong to judge. It's so wrong to project.
Hmm.
But sometimes your intuition, your instincts, your observations, they are validated. You don't have to necessarily share that with others. You can share it with the people who you close to. You don't have to broadcast it. You don't have to then reproject and announce it to the world. And I'm saying that because people are either showing you that they're not hurting when they really are, or they're hurting others and giving the appearance as though they are doing no wrong,
Ooh,
right?
come on.
So when we're sitting here in a situation and I'm looking at the game of politics, knowing that there was a school shooting and there's people fighting for how do we, and I don't want to say politicize because the politics create the policies and the policies create the formation of how we're going to govern ourselves, right? These people are people that we put in power. We put them in those positions. Now we disengage once they get there, or some of us engage and then, it's kind of a he said, she said thing at the end of the day, right? It's like, oh, well, they said, let me point the finger to them, right? And the thing that I'm looking at, right, because we talked about this too, right, is like people announcing these victories of like, oh, California has reinstated a ban on high ammunition for firearms. And then we zoom out. We take it back to the Black Panthers. We take it back to when they went to the state capitol when they had guns on the steps
You talking about 50
and
years ago?
50 years ago, right? And it was, you know, black people with firearms, the right to bear arms, but it was taken away and changed, right? To keep those black people who were organized, right? You had said it, they were organized. That was a very key word that you pointed out, right?
And peaceful.
Peaceful, right?
They
And
didn't come in breaking windows. They didn't
they
come
ain't
in
shoot
beating up police
nobody.
officers.
They
They
ain't
didn't
shoot
discharge
nobody.
no rounds.
Nothing, right?
But the idea
The
that they could
idea,
be that they could be
the
harmful
image, the imagery of
together,
seeing these black people together organized with firearms,
yeah,
right? These people were trying to protect their own communities because they lacked protection. It's almost as though it's still going on now, right? Where keeping people disorganized, keeping people separated, keeping people divisive, not letting them think critically about what's going on so they can figure out solutions to innovate on what's already taken place, right? We further divide, we weaken them, we take away their sources of wealth, and we're now in this situation where people are hurting and looking as though they're not hurting, or they're hurting others and trying to make it seem as though they're not hurting anyone at all. And I look at the situation that we're in as people. I don't look at it as what I'm in or what you're in. I look at it as what we are in, right? I can
mhm,
see the individual differences and I can respect that and I can support, or I can step back and realize that's not for me, but I see it. I acknowledge it. The thing about it is right now, it's important for people to identify what they need for themselves and know how to create the support systems to reach out, to communicate, to show up and say, right, this is what I need from you, right?
yeah,
Or I just want to be seen, right? Because you made a good point. It's not necessarily what you're going to do that's going to impact someone else as much as it will give them the slight nudge to carry them along the way, right? It
yeah,
illuminates this man because it plays into the deception and everything. I never forget coming out of a birthday party. We got a plate of food to go, a couple plates of food to go. We down there at Civic Center in front of Burger King. I see this, this black guy. He has a suitcase, look like he's traveling, and he comes up and he's like, "Hey, you know what? I got some things for sale. You want to buy this?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, what you got?" And so he had like a Spice Girls doll, and so my cousin bought it for his little sister. He's like, "Yeah, I got shampoos. I got all this stuff. What do you need?" And I'm like, we ain't really got too much else to really buy from you. But, he was like, well, what y'all doing with that plate? And I'm like, you want it? It's yours. He started tearing it up. And I'm like, this man is so well dressed. He's so sharp. He looks healthy. And he's like, yeah, I've been out here on these streets for the past like 6 months. Like it's been a wild ride. And we started talking, and he tells me that he used to he used to be in the military. He used to drive around generals. He was uh focused on demolition. That was his big thing, right? On infrastructures of architecture and how to um, weaken those infrastructures so that way it would be strategically used in war, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he comes out and he says, "Yeah, I took my GI Bill, I had some money, and I got with someone, and we were in a very unhealthy, toxic relationship, and they manipulated and found a way to exploit all of my finances, and now I'm here." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, if you ever want to come see me, I'm out at the beach. I got a piano box that I stay out of. That's inside the bushes that people can't see." And I'm like, this simple interaction that took place maybe it definitely was more than 10 years ago resonates in my mind, not because of the absurdity, because there's a level of absurdness and all the things that I'm hearing and he's saying in this conversation, but it sticks with me because you just don't know. I was like, I got some food, he was hungry, we bought something, we had an exchange, there was a transaction there, but there was a conversation that I hold on to, and I'm reminded of what
Right.
it means when you find yourself in different circumstances, situations, whether it's the perception, because I had my own perceived notion of who he was as an individual, just off of how he dressed, off of how he smelled, how well groomed and well kept he was.
Right.
I'm like, I've sat with people who are going through poverty, right? Doesn't mean that they're gonna be in it forever, but they've been in poverty and you can smell it, you can feel it, you can
Mm.
you can feel the way it resonates off of them. And I
Right.
got none of that from this man.
Right.
And as soon as we start to get to talking, he's just breaking down every little element of what he doesn't have and how this happened and how
Mm.
he found himself in these circumstances. And I then reflect on that moment every time I'm met with an unhealthy relationship.
Mm.
I reflect on that moment when I didn't have something to eat. And I remember digging through the couches of the many community organizations that I would go to get some change so I could buy a bag of chips. I
Mm.
remember this conversation because the perception, right? He could be hurting, but no one would ever know it. He could be hurting somebody else. How would I ever know? This man sitting up here talking about, yeah, this building right here, you see this structure right here, you see this corner, you see that this, how many floors it is, and he's breaking it down to me on such a specific strategic level. And I'm like, I would never know. Walk past each other, let it be. But I'm reminded to hold and maintain a level of compassion for every person that I come across, including myself, because it can be difficult, right? To give people that space, to grant them that space. Because I think that it's not even, I think, I know
Mm.
whether people want to admit it or not, they're not exercising that compassion. They're not granting people that space. And I think it's important because as I look at this trial with Maxine, and I think of the level of potential harm that has already been caused just on the perception of what's going on. If it looked like a duck, it walked like a duck, it sound like a duck, chances are it might be a duck. And so, I just think about that so many times. Like, it's tough to. We got some crowns from VDH Media. We got a
Mm.
LOL. You know what I'm saying? That was
Yeah.
about 10 minutes ago. But we make our ways to the comments every once in a while. But it's just one of those things that I think about. Like, yeah, you gotta own your time, but be mindful of what's going on. Be mindful of how you handle your time, and also how are you showing up, and how are you interpreting what others are giving you.
Yeah. And like when you think you pointing out how impactful um, that exchange was, and what people can give you, and what you were able to share, and what was shared with you, um, and each of you might have experienced a life, a lifelong, a long lasting impact from that. Even though maybe he just got a meal, but he also got some respect that was given to him. And sometimes that can be a nudge, uh, some encouragement, in his entrepreneurial, executions. And also just a sense of belonging, that though he was, in a certain state, in a certain circumstance, it was not how you were defining him by that circumstance. You know, as we know, right? Appearances can be misleading, but also appearances can sometimes, you know, represent, who I'm choosing to be, right? In this moment, right?
We got
VDH
FDH
media is like
Media.
with that butterfly effect. Exactly.
Yep.
It's like, the two sides of a coin, right? Can represent so much for someone's life and in their decision making, right? Especially when you talk about behavior and you say, oh, well, because I recognized my own choices in this, toxic relationship where I put myself, you know, in a situation where I had a setback, I can, kind of reverse engineer that thinking and say, oh, I can go the other way. And instead of seeing this as a bad situation, I can see it as an opportunity, you know, and kind of like a high ceiling type of thing. Instead of seeing that I'm on the lowest floor, right? I can say, oh well, this floor is higher than it could have been. Could have been a lot lower floor, that I'm starting at, but still I have a high ceiling. And understanding that I'm going to be acknowledged or not acknowledged or judged by how well I speak the English language and communicate to people, right? And then also, right, people using their senses, right, to say, oh, well, this person smells a certain way or looks a certain way, um, right, on how well I'm received, when trying to execute my goal. And right, the fact that you were able to give, you and the folks that you were with were able to, you know, give him some respect and right, patronize his power move at the time, right? He's like, okay, I can trust these people enough to let them know, right, that they won't come looking for me to harm me, right? When I tell them that I have a place that's hidden from sight and that they are welcome, you know, if they're ever, in the area or thinking of me, right, or have some opportunity for me, because I'm often the same way. It's like somebody came to the gym the other day and he was walking and had a little shoulder bag and had CDs in it. CDs. It's like, okay, he's he's soft spoken, but he got some CDs that he made himself. They got labels and he's selling them. I think he's selling for 15, right? He's like, okay, like this is my price point. Either they with it or not with it. And right, came to my place of work while I'm working, while I'm doing my thing, and I'm gonna buy a CD, not just because I wanted to move on, but also he's doing the same thing I'm doing, right? He's saying, right, this is my vibe, this is what I am intentional about, and he cares enough to get a label, right, to offer a price and to walk through a neighborhood where he doesn't look like everybody else in the neighborhood, and knowing that people will judge him by how he looks. And I thanked them for it, made the purchase, But then I'm like, where's your contact information? Bro, you got to write the phone number or the IG or something in there so I can follow up. Because if I listen to this and I enjoy this, I I can't slide it to nobody to where they can find you, right? And then he put his personal number on the inside of the thing, and like at least he was able to do that and write it down, and he had a pen to do that. I think I might have gave him my pen. I'm not sure. But for this, say he had a pen and he was prepared and he had a pen and he had a number to write down. So I was grateful for that experience because I know what it's like to be looking for folks to believe in you, whether it's in your art or it's in your passion, or what you feel is your purpose or a discipline that you learn, right? I'm of the mind that we all eat, and I'm an eater, so folks around me is gonna have a little bit, at least proportionate to what they can eat. That's right. Go ahead and Senio, read that one.
So we got to be held more accountable for the impact out of interactions have, and we start by recognizing that there's real power in perspective from
That's right.
VH Media, right?
Right on.
There's something
Watching
to
us
be
on
said.
YouTube.
Yeah. So it's everything every move you make is navigated by the lanes you see, right? Like,
I relate to that.
I mean, I relate to it, and this is how I flip that on his head, right?
Go ahead.
Right. That who made the lanes,
That's
right?
right. The
Because
lanes you
you
make.
look at you right, you navigate it by the lanes you see, but who made the lanes? Who said these were the lanes, right? Impact of in our interactions, right? VDH Media says impact of our interactions, right? But when you look at the lanes, right? Yeah, auto text would be a beast. Auto text, it don't have no compassion for us. It just do what it do. But it's all good. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna get through it. And I appreciate you
Yes, keep
taking the
going.
time to let us know. I appreciate, like informing,
Yeah.
communicating, and let us know what's up. But yeah, it's like every move you make is navigated by the lanes you see. But you gotta ask yourself who made these lanes? Who decided these were the lanes for you? And then you gotta ask yourself, are you a car or are you a spaceship? Because spaceships don't need lanes, right?
Ooh, giving that Back
When
to the
you
Future.
you know what I'm
Roads. Where we
saying? Doo,
going?
doo, 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 doo. Better get on your
Where,
train, chicka chicka. You know what I'm saying?
where we
Like,
going? There are no roads.
there ain't no tracks. But that's the thing is that it's true. You sometimes have to go with the lane and see where does this lane take you, right? They say stay in your lane, and it's true. Stay in your lane if it's your lane. But sometimes you get put in a lane, we're not even realizing or acknowledging you need to get up out of there. You need to exit,
Yeah.
right? And I
It's
think
whole
it's
it's whole
important that
cultures and civilizations based on putting people in their lanes.
exactly in that perspective, having like the perception, your reality is based off of your perception of it. Like it is literally the electrical network and frequencies of what you're receiving and how you retain that information and what is it that you exist in inside of that, right? And I like the fact that you say that, right? Facts. Spaceships don't come equipped with rear view mirrors. They dip just as fast as they came. The atmosphere is now ripped, right? And the thing is, you highlighted a lyric that I had said way a long time ago, right? Which was when I was on the grind, no one ever gave a dime. If I only had a penny, I would give it every time, right?
Right.
And it's a thing where for me, I think about that, right? It's important to understand that, right? Like who I am in this situation and how I perceive the world around me. It's less about it's a person is gonna appear how they appear, right? You brought up a good point, and I remember the days when I was bummy. I remember the days when I was funky. I remember the days when I had the need. I remember them
I'm
days,
still
right?
buddy. What you mean?
Liar. But the thing is, right? For me, I held on to a sense of this is momentary. Now, some people it's hard for them to see beyond the moment, and I
Oh man, for
understand,
real.
and I totally I resonate with that because right now is all you got. So sometimes tomorrow ain't even a part of the equation. But for me in that moment, I knew like this is momentary. I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna make a way. And you know, due to the circumstances of events, you can't foresee what's gonna put you in that position, but you could do something about it. I believe, right? Even when you don't believe in yourself, because I have people who I love, they don't believe in themselves as much as I believe in them.
Right.
And it's not going to cost me anything to give you that belief and to give you that encouragement and to give you that support and love. It may cost me after a while, and I might create a boundary and I might need to create some space. And I got things I got to do too because I believe in me. The belief don't stop. I believe in me and I believe in you. I
Right.
believe in everyone, even if you don't believe in yourself. But beyond the belief, right? There's a call to action. Now, whether or not you choose to act, that's okay. It's on you. Me, I gotta act. That's who I am. I'm at service to my community. I'm at service to the people around me. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna be present. I'm gonna give what I can where I can. Right? I'm unlimited in that ability, even if it looks like I'm limited in someone's perspective, even in their perception, even if they see just a glimpse, or even if to them it isn't what they perceive, right? As I perceive it, right?
I
It's
see what you
okay,
did. I see
right?
what you did. I see how we got back to the beginning.
Right? It's the artistic vision in it, in the creative sense, right? Anybody ever watched a movie called The Prestige, right? That movie is all about perception. It's all about how much you hold true to what it is that you are showing other people. What are you giving to them, right? I hold very true to it. As you can see, I hold very true to that movie, right? Because I understand that there's a level of perception. I understand that this creates a filter and a barrier. I understand that there's a level of attraction or enticement or engagement or insightfulness from everything. For those that are having the audio only version, I'm referencing the fact that I'm wearing a mask. I wear my heart on my head. I'm hard headed. I got gold teeth in my mouth. I wear a wedding ring. There's a lot of different things that all play into the delivery and the communication on a subconscious, on a subliminal, on a perceived notion. On every level, there's something being communicated. It's intentional, it's with purpose, not for everyone, but that's the point. And I think that as what's been engaged from the people watching to the conversation that we're having, there is so much power in your perception of yourself, the relationship in which you tell yourself, because as we've seen in the beginning of this conversation, you can be hurting, you can be struggling. We live in a world where we can acknowledge that no matter how much wealth you've attained or acclaim or credentials, you can still be at a deficit with your health. You can be one of the leading designers of the world and on the cusp of what people will spend millions and billions of dollars on and still not, or to some degree, not have adequate enough support for your health, not have access, right? I can't tell you how many conversations, how many different things I've heard where just because of the circumstances, you may not get that extra lean in. You might not get the extra push, that extra support. Burner,
Mm,
right? The rapper from the Bay Area, from the city, San Francisco, Cookies, right? Had brought up a point I seen on social media saying the only reason why he found out he had cancer was because his doctor did a test that not everyone has access to. And what he's trying to do is give people that access, which I applaud and I appreciate and I pray for his recovery and his health and for him to be able to grow from this situation to extend that same opportunity to many many more people that he was able to have that he was provided with, right? Because you can look at any one thing and just say, "Oh, he got it made. He got cookies. Everybody know what cookies is." But no, right? There was certain happenstance, certain levels of luck, certain levels of chance, opportunity. Him being in a position that he in to even say, to share, to even say, like, I'm gonna make this something that I'm gonna own and I'm gonna try and push so other people have access to. Because
right.
him being a person of color, we understand the dynamics of healthcare. We still living in it. Omarion just showed up in San Francisco and said, boom, 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 touch, doom, 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 touch, with the lights on, right? But that's the thing, right? It's one of those that it's easy to forget how interconnected every angle and every piece of everything that's being spoken is because we all exist in this as one, right? As I say it and you receive it through the electric neurons of your brain, it so exists in the Wi-Fi connection or the internet of whatever service you're being provided. And the depth, the layers of perception of what that means, of how you're going to receive it, how you're going to project that to someone else, or how this may just give a little bit more of a nudge to something that you may have been feeling or thinking, right? That's the purpose, to be communicated, to connect, to create community, right? To reflect on things and then grow.
Yeah,
It's an organic process.
that's real. And whenever someone is choosing to enterprise as a person of color, I think there's an intrinsic nature to acknowledge that they're representing a perspective, um, or they're representing an image that that will be under discernment, and people will judge and not always ridicule, but they will definitely be evaluating who they are as a person, as a professional, and as a person of color who's an entrepreneur. Say they will try to take this example and generalize, for the sake of, I might not know any more people of color. I might not be aware of or attentive to what else is happening for entrepreneurs navigating through a system that's set up for them to fail. And so I'm take this one example and say, this is how things go. And whatever ups and downs or wins or losses, great decision moves or missteps that they make, I would generalize and say, this is how these people interact. This is how they run business. This is how they treat their customers. This is, the type of people they serve and the environment that they cultivate, um, or the energy that they bring based on my perception through my lived experience. And it's usually someone who doesn't relate to the entrepreneur, that we're focused on. And we can all step outside of ourselves and try to get to know the person that we are observing or have become aware of, and say, what is their story? How do I DYOR, do my own research and say, where, let me learn this person's history once, so that I might show them respect enough to hear the story from the source instead of making it my own narrative or projecting or allocating a narrative that may have been given to me, from some media, social media, or popular trends or narratives. And let me get to know this person, that I might see their humanity, and if nothing else, I will then have learned something about the multifaceted experience of being a person of color in America. And right, you touched on a point about, you know, kind of like that, creating that barrier and having that mystique, and the allure of a barrier, um, and being in control of how the audience, perceives you. Um, and I think it's always my job. I think one of the lyrics that always stuck with me was E40's American flag on the whip to camouflage my image. Um, And I thought that was so eloquent actually to slide that in there to talk about to talk about your car in the first place and say that it's a tool for me to navigate this world with some armor. Um, and or right, more specifically, right, some camouflage, right, some form of defense for your offense, and having that mindset from an attacking standpoint, from an execution, from a goal oriented, solutions oriented standpoint, not a hiding or protection, but I want to make moves and I want to allow myself to make moves, and I am going to code switch in a way that most people won't understand that I'm switching things up to gain access to certain things, to certain opportunities. And I think that's something that's always stuck with me is like, oh, I can shape this how I want to while still being authentic, right? Like I can Metal Gear Solid this for real, right? I could Big Boss, I could Snake, I could do
Do,
this for
do,
real.
do, do, do.
Like for me it was like, oh, that's just like a cardboard box,
Straight up.
right?
Also, as
It's
a
like
double, triple entendre on like what you said, right? To navigate literally in your car, but to also navigate the structures of
right,
society in America.
right, right. It's like you don't have to actually perceive yourself as a member of their society to navigate within their society because they obviously don't see themselves as a member, right? Us as members or as members of us to
I mean, they created
navigate.
the infrastructure without us being envisioned in it, right?
Right,
They was
for
talking about
sure.
the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness without us being even a footnote in that conversation, right?
Nah,
It's
this ain't
still
for you.
there. You know what I'm saying? It's still there. It's still there, right?
Right.
You look at the 13th Amendment, it's still there. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to tell me. And like I was told, I'll say it again. They will kill they own to get to you. Okay? They will sacrifice, right?
I'm a family person.
You know what I'm saying? You got to stay with
I,
the what is that
I
that genius gack. But you know,
whatever.
it's one of those.
That's slime. This is
That's a slime, man. What's a slime? We got the slime out here, but
we about
it's
sensory things out here,
for real.
textures and
But
things.
it's so necessary and essential to engage yourself in all these different capacities and ways because sometimes you just gotta laugh it off because that's either that you're gonna grab the slime because it is a thing where you can easily get like distracted by the idea or the concept of what you got to do to navigate, what you got to do to deal with the perceptions. What do you got to do to make sure that you don't go back to slinging yayo, right? Because I hope
Yep.
I don't go back to slinging yayo. But
Not to get
sometimes
my
that
mail.
means, you know what? Let me put this flag on this ride, right? To then say, look at me, right? Even if you don't see me as this, I
Ah,
see myself as this,
exactly.
right? You ain't got to see me. You won't have to perceive it. I'm gonna perceive it. I'm gonna make it happen, right? Because I think that is so important as we grow as people, as we grow as a culture. Like this is me speaking in all forwardness, right? Without not the ooze from the Power Rangers. We out here, you know what I'm saying? The ooze is real, or Ninja Turtle too. The ooze. It's how you
Yep.
take it. Shout out to Ernie Reyes Jr. Filipinos out here. You know what I'm saying? Making it work. That's he's surf ninjas. But the point I'm
Quan
getting
too,
at
dude.
is, oh man, cowbunga. So to me, I'll be the first to say this. I'm not trying to sacrifice someone to gain. I'm not trying
Right.
to exploit someone unfairly at a disadvantage. I'm not trying to see no one die for us to get what we need or we deserve or what we want. That's not, it's been done. We did that. I'm not trying to have that happen, right?
A lot of
That's
that. A
not,
lot.
I'm not, when people romanticize violence and what we've done to get to where we are, I look at that as repeating the cycle, not breaking away from it.
Right.
So as I create this, as I share this space, as I create these words, as I create my art, as I speak on it, and I say that wealth is a human right. When I say I want to see modest millionaires, when I say that I believe in people who wholeheartedly aren't greedy, who are looking to change and make things better, and I believe and I endorse and I support when I go to those pop ups and I go and buy and I go and purchase and I go and support and I go and make sure that my money circulates in the communities of, not just communities of color, right? Because it's important that it's communities of colors, but it's also the fact that these communities are people who I see as my peers, that these people are in similar positions as me, who they're not broken away or tethered to another structure. Because again, you're gonna have people who look like you, but because they're in a different tax bracket, they will
Mm.
never identify with you, right? So I'm looking to change the whole narrative, to flip the whole script, because it's not about me going to war. It's about me realizing that there is a pool of resources that we can access. We just have to educate ourselves, exchange that information, empower each other, and believe. Date bayo, believe in each other, believe in ourselves, take that action and make it happen.
Believe it.
Date bayo. So, Affluent, do you have any final thoughts, final words for the people who are listening to episode 77 of the Lyrical Ones podcast?
I I would encourage folks to find their conviction. Find the things that they want to commit to, immerse themselves in those things. Find the ways that they want to show up in community and commit to those ways. Um, find the words and the actions that they want to commit to, and match them up. Right, match their actions to their words. Um, Match their priorities to their desires. And when you speak of changing your life and new behaviors, and things you're passionate about, uh, say them with so much heart that it makes anything you said before that seem like a lie.
That's real. That's that's so real.
Right, mean it like that. That's a
Conviction. Believe it.
right. That's that Jujutsu Kaisen. You know, check out Jujutsu Kaisen before the movie comes out. Movie coming out later this the prequel coming out later this month in Japan. So we might not get it till February, March. We'll see how things go with the Japanese release schedule. Um, but yeah, you know, as you go into this new year, right? Find those new convictions. Like you can be resolved every day. You don't have to wait to the new year. You can be resolved every day to to make changes. Right? Every day is a new starting line. But if you got opportunity, right, the things that you want to do, that you want to be, acknowledge those opportunities to be those things, to change those things. If you want to be stronger, right, acknowledge the opportunity to work, acknowledge the opportunity to rest. If you want to be more knowledgeable, if you want to be more disciplined, more patient, more loving, more kind, more gentle, more clever, acknowledge the opportunities to make more clever decisions, and not acknowledge the opportunities to be quick-witted, acknowledge the opportunities to be fast reacting or to be gracious or to be kind. acknowledge the opportunities to be in conversation and be more gentle, to be more attentive, right? Like convict, find the conviction, and yeah, match your desires with your priorities. Because sometimes they don't match. You say you desire something, but your priorities don't say that you do, right? Or you got these priorities, you're making these decisions, and it's got nothing to do with your desires. So like, do you really desire it if your priorities ain't matching? It's like, just let them. Let's try to let them match up.
Don't let them get you. Don't let them get you. They gonna try and get you. They trying to get you right now. Watch. You gonna get off of this. Somebody gonna watch this. Somebody gonna listen to this in the future. You gonna get off and you gonna check something. Ain't got nothing to do with you, but it got everything to do with you because it's taken away from you.
Yeah, Lauren Hill said, "I get out of all your boxes," right? And she wasn't just talking about the they. She was talking about us too. She was talking about fans. She's talking about anyone who had a
Everybody.
perception, everyone who had a perception of her. She said, "I get out of those boxes.
What you
Continue to
want to do?
get out of people's boxes."
You gotta
Right?
just don't even. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes look, the endorphins is real, right? The serotonin that release, those feelings are real. They're
He about
not
to work out,
invalidated.
y'all. He about to work out.
For real. Definitely gonna get to work. Gonna get to work. You know what
He
I'm
about to
saying?
go
If not,
exercise.
I mean, I'm gonna just eat this pasta and chicken, my salad, and we gonna call it what we gonna call it. But I'm just telling people as we close episode 77 out, find that conviction, hold on to it, refine your discipline, right? You're not always gonna feel like doing it, but do it. Do it for you. Do it for the future of you. Do it for the way, right? I'm gonna ride the TARDIS and for show find Gallifrey. We really out here. We really out here. I mean, you know what I'm saying? This how many universes you really living in? Because you exist in all of them. That's the thing. How many you really living in? Because you really exist in all of them. But in this one, the one that we share, this one right now, hold on to you, right? Get on your path, find your discipline, hold on to it, refine that. Hoovians unite. We out here. Hoovians for the Doctor Who's. I like how it's all coming together. I appreciate
Seven
the
seven.
I appreciate people engaging with us tonight. We had a lot of engagement. Keep it up. We're gonna be back here next Wednesday. For those that are in the know, there's a Patreon, Lyrical Opposition. For those that want to support financially, you want to put your money, vote with your dollars. You have the opportunity to do that. We have some NFT collections going on right now to support some of the artists that are part of Lyrical Opposition as well. There's a lot of different things going on, but I'm just saying, stay connected. We're gonna be here next week. We on Spotify. The video's on Spotify now. I mean, what can I say?
Hop in the Discord server and level up.
Ain't that the truth? And as we like to do at this time, to make sure I'm on point, hopefully. Thank you, Cuddy.
One, 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 one.